It has been 5 days, yes, 5 days of protests in many parts of Nigeria. In some areas, some persons have been killed, and many have lost valuable income. In some other areas, it's been largely peaceful. And in some other parts of the country, there's been looting and carnage. In all of these, the president addressed the nation in the early hours of Sunday, and he explained why he took, in his words, difficult but necessary decisions to ensure that, of course, we get better. He also explained to the nation some of the things his government over the last 365 days or more have done to ensure that he brings succor to the people. But there are many Nigerians who want more. They believe that the president's speech did not do much to cater to their feelings or to answer some of the questions they have been asking. Well, that's what will get us talking on the show today, as I bid you welcome to another edition of The Newsroom. The Newsroom is a production of Nigeria Info's Newsroom, where we take a critical look at the big stories that have made the rounds in the course of the last 7 days. Well, they don't get any bigger than the protests and bad governance or hunger protests that has been on since Thursday last week. It's what we're going to be talking about on the show today. My name is Ufuoma Egbamuno, just in case you were wondering, and of course, I am your regular host on the show. We do have a guest that we will be talking to in a matter of minutes. My producers are trying as much as possible to ensure that, of course, that we get to him as quickly as possible, so that we can start this conversation, because there's a whole lot to talk about. The president, in his speech yesterday, Sunday, noted that this issue should not lead to the point where we become bigots or we start talking about our tribal differences. Because to a large extent, unfortunately, over the last couple of days, many of us, mostly on social media and even on traditional media, have turned this conversation into a tribal conversation. It's become Hausa versus Yoruba, Yoruba versus Igbo, Igbo versus Hausa, and any of the other tribes that we want to mention. There have been comments, sometimes from even the most respected of persons, people you think should know better, who have turned this conversation about hunger to tribalism. And no, it did not start today. It's been a culmination of, I would say, Nigerians' existence since the 1st of October 1960. But what I honestly do not, I wouldn't say I don't understand it. I do understand it. But what's alarming is the fact that we've taken it to a totally different level in the last couple of years. Last week on the show, I think I remember mentioning the fact that during the last protest that took place across the country in 2020, the NSAS protest, at a point, the narrative was, it's Southerners who want to overthrow the government of the then President Muhammadu Buhari. Yeah, that conversation was there. Meanwhile, the protest was largely about the brutality that security operatives, especially the police, have been meting out over the years to some Nigerians, especially young Nigerians. That's in essence what that protest was all about. Okay, to some extent, they metamorphosed into, okay, we need good governance. Okay, you need to do some other things, electoral reforms. But the basis, the genesis of that protest 4 years ago was an end to police brutality. 4 years after, the genesis of the protests is the current hardship as a result of the economic policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. But unfortunately, it's been given political colorations, tribal colorations, and while I will not sit here and deny the fact that there could be and there's possibly political agenda behind some of the protests, I would also argue that that's probably to a lesser degree as opposed to the fact that Nigerians are hungry. There's nobody, I would argue, in this country who is not feeling the heat. No matter how rich you are, no matter how comfortable you are, there's no one who's not feeling it, either directly or indirectly. Either you get more people asking you for money, or you don't even have enough. I saw a tweet earlier today which was quite profound. The person said that today we're a lot more bothered about the foreign policies of Western governments because somehow it affects us, immigration and all of that. We're looking at countries like the US, like the UK, like Canada, like some European countries. We're looking at these countries and we're getting more knowledge about their foreign policies because, of course, as it concerns Japa, people who have the funds to be able to leave the country, as opposed to us as Nigerians talking about trade, and all the other things we should be talking to these or talking to these foreign countries about. Instead, we're more concerned about their foreign policies because a lot of Nigerians want to leave the country. Anyway, I'll leave it at that because, of course, we've been able to get through to my guest on the show, Mr. Monday. I called him Sunday. Goodness me, Mr. Monday Ubani is a former vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association. In fact, I think I should add the fact that he's now a senior advocate of Nigeria. And I should also apologize to him because I should have on the show last week. It was supposed to be on my script. No, it was on my script. Somehow I forgot to wish him a very happy birthday because he's a friend of the house. So I will start from there as I introduce Mr. Monday Ubani, SAN, to the show this evening. A very good evening to you, sir. Welcome to the newsroom. Hello. Okay, it does look like it does look like that has not happened. So my producer Emmanuel Onwoka, in fact, my two producers are here in the studio. I don't know why the other one is stronging her face, but anyway, we will try to connect to Mr. Monday Ubani. Because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of questions, that I have to ask, and hopefully I will get answers, from him. Okay, while we wait, let me continue what I was talking about. How we're more concerned. We're a lot more concerned about foreign policies of some Western governments as Nigerians because we want to know which of the country will be favorable to us in terms of leaving the country, as opposed to us looking at what kind of trade, investments can we as Nigerians have with these countries? The person who made that post also talked about how some years ago, some 20, 24 years ago, a number of Nigerians were actually leaving these Western countries, the US, Canada, and co., to come back to Nigeria to invest. If you remember, if you are old enough to remember, a lot of Nigerians were coming back, actually, to do that. Under the President Obasanjo administration, there were a number of Nigerians who came back. Unfortunately, it feels like the reverse is the case, or has been the case in the last number of years. The reverse has been the case. Okay, finally, hello, a very good evening to you, sir. Welcome to the show. Hello. These technical things sometimes can honestly want to frustrate you. Hello, good evening, sir. Okay, I think we're having issues with connections. Quite, if we're being honest, the networks have been really terrible. They've been really, really terrible over the last number of days. Honestly, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into the conspiracy theory that a number of Nigerians, are already talking about. But it's quite curious. The curiosity in me would say, how is it that it's just around this corner that there's a protest? That we're having these issues of internet access. We've tried the normal phone lines. They're acting up. We're trying WhatsApp. And unfortunately, hello, good evening.
Hello. Yeah. Hello, nobody's hearing me.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Are you guys there?
Yes, we are. Can you hear me?
Hey.
Mr. Monday, Obani.
Is there anywhere? I don't mind.
Could you move away a bit from where you are? Could you move around a bit from where you are? Okay, we actually apologies, Lagos, apologies. We will try to see how we can fix this. We are struggling. We're definitely struggling with the connection. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. So let's start this conversation, Mr. Bani. First things first, I was saying that I was supposed to have wished you a happy birthday last week. So on behalf of myself and the team, apologies for that. Happy birthday in arrears. And congratulations on your new position as a senior advocate of Nigeria.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so not so much time we have on the show. Quickly, let's talk about the protest that has been on for the last 5 days. What's your general thoughts? What's your general view about the End Bad Governance protest since last week Thursday?
The point is that the protest is a feedback mechanism for any government, especially in Africa, where the institutions are very, very weak. You see what happened in developed economies where there is any, misadventure in governance, or there is any bad policy or any bad pronouncement, and the people, raise an eyebrow concerning the policy of that government. The institutions are usually very strong. Before you know it, it's either the person will resign. I know you watched the proceeding in the Senate concerning the former CIA director.
Yep.
When Trump was nearly assassinated.
Secret Service, actually.
Beautiful. You saw the interrogation that took place. And the next thing that the woman did was to resign.
Yeah.
And so, these institutions are very, very strong in all these developed economies. So, for them, it's easier to deal with things like or when the leaders are not doing well, during the elections, the next election cycle, they will remove that individual by, look at what happened in Britain. Where the Conservatives were voted out and Labour is clearly now in charge. And so what we're saying is that for us here, those institutions are not very, very strong. So the only way sometimes you can be able to speak and tell the government, oh, we don't like this, or we don't, is by protest. And all agree, including the government, that protesting any government bad policy is a right, and that everyone has a right to protest. But the only problem we have protest is that sometimes the process is hijacked, by people with different motive, and especially criminally minded individuals. And at the end, lives and properties are lost. Making it now look as if protest is something that is a criminal act, whereas it's a normal act where you gather together to express your grievance, or grievances over government policies that you find not suitable or conducive for the society or for the environment. And so there is nothing wrong in protesting. There is nothing wrong in expressing grievance over government policies that you say is not correct, is not right, and is not giving people joy. And so it's a feedback mechanism to anyone who is in government to say, look, what you are doing is not yet right. We are finding it very difficult to survive under the condition. Is there anything you can do to address the situation? Is there anything you can do to change, the bad or the ugly situation?
Okay, so before we get into the president's speech yesterday, let's look at some of the legal, conversations. Some state governments, including the Federal Capital Territory, went to court and were able to get orders from courts, to restrict these protests to particular locations. I'm not I'm not a lawyer, but the very first time that news broke, I think Wednesday evening, my first reaction was, how are you doing this? Or why are you doing this? You shouldn't restrict me to where I will make my protest. I can literally do it in my house if I want to, or wherever I choose to, as far as I'm not obstructing the right of another person who probably does not want to make that protest. But it is what it is. That judgment has not been overturned. So I would like to get your thoughts about it. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, it does look to me like, it should not be, because it supersedes what the Constitution says. But I'll leave that to you. Tell me.
Yeah, it's a very intelligent question. The position of the law is that the rights that are guaranteed under the 1999 Constitution is a right that is meant for the citizens, and also even for the non-citizens. They are called fundamental human rights. And one of them is the issue of free movement. And then the issue of assembly. You have the right to freely assemble at any place, at any time, as a citizen or non-citizen, so far you live within that particular country. Now, but that right can also be derogated on. It can be limited, but it must be limited for specific reasons, either for public safety or public security and orderliness in the society. But there must be a law. He said nothing in this section, nothing in all those rights that is guaranteed shall invalidate any law that is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. That is what Section 45 of 1999 Constitution provided. So it's now saying that, yes, this right you have mentioned, which is fundamental human right, is not absolute. You can limit it. It can be derogated on. But you can only derogate it through a substantive law that is properly enacted and is reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. And so when those orders were churned out, both in Abuja, Lagos, and some other jurisdictions, the question is, was there any law already in existence that have actually limited those rights that have been guaranteed? Was there any law enacted either by the State House of Assembly or by the Federal, National Assembly limiting those fundamental human rights upon which the orders now were predicated on? I don't know. In another particular station where I discussed this issue yesterday, I said that can only be determined by the court. Maybe some people can challenge those court orders, especially that we obtain extra thing, without putting anyone on notice, whether there is any constitutional backing for that particular order that were obtained, restricting, the protesters to certain specific and even time. Is it constitutional? Is there any backing by the Constitution? Because is there any law? Because my take is that a court order is not a law. there must have been a law that has been made saying based upon this, you have no right to free movement. Based upon this, you have no right to free assembly. I don't know whether there was any. So that can be decided upon later if anyone challenges those orders that we obtain. But let me say this. On the inside, one cannot in any way totally condemn the procedure that were taken by those state government and federal capital city minister for restricting protesters to certain specific areas because of previous experience with protesting.
True.
We have had a situation where lives have been lost.
True.
We have had a situation where the hijacker, I mean, when we talk about the criminals, hijack the process and then now begin to unleash terror. Begin to unleash what we call mayhem on both innocent citizens who are even doing who refuse to protest and doing their normal businesses. And it happened even in this particular protest. Where I was in Abuja, where people were entering into shops and breaking shops and looting them. Those cannot be legal protestation anymore.
True.
That cannot be something that is now peaceful. So it gives you an impression that those guys took what we call proactive measures
to forestall these.
To forestall situations like that. Okay, gentlemen, I am agreeing you have a right to protest. I'm agreeing you have a right to express your grievances over some issues you consider as bad governance. But can you do this in this area? Go there, let us hear you. Say whatever your grievances are and specify them. And then give government an opportunity to address you and address those problems. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So, but if you do it in a limitless manner and begin to occupy all the spaces and all that, one, there are those who may not want to protest. You are also disturbing them.
True.
Because your own rights stop where others' rights start. Are you following me?
Yep.
And then you can now begin to damage government properties. You begin to damage people's property. Is it right? Can that be evidence of good protestation?
Absolutely
Can that be
not.
something that is considered legitimate? So the government now had to take those proactive measures. But as to the constitutionality of those orders, it's a different ball game. It's a different kettle of fish. But as to whether those measures were taken for good reasons, I can assure you, I can also tell you that as people who have experienced very, very violent and riotous protestations, those measures could have been taken in order to avoid what eventually happened, because there were issues where people now went and protested in areas that were not specified and committed all manner. If I in Abuja, my driver's phone was snatched. He was coming, to see me so that we can go out some, and his phone was snatched. There are people who lost valuable things in Abuja.
True.
Lagos is a bit more peaceful, but there are many things that happen in other places, especially in northern Nigeria. This particular protest in northern Nigeria was terrible. A lot in Kano, they looted government properties and all that. Can that be legitimate protestation? Could that not justify the government position in going to court to obtain an order in order to restrict? So you can see that it wasn't a bad decision. But the point is that, is it constitutional? Is it legal? That can only be determined by the court. That's where I want to answer that question.
Brilliant answer, I have to say. In fact, I was about to say some of these things you just mentioned, but thankfully it did not come from my mouth. The aspect of it, being proactive.
Yes.
So let's talk about, the reaction from the presidency. The president gave his speech yesterday to address some of these issues. But there are a number of Nigerians, who believe that the president did not do or say some of the things, that they wanted to hear. People including Wale Soyinka, Femi Falana, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi a few hours ago on Twitter, the PDP, the NLC, quite a number of these persons, I'm just limited to, these names, have said that the president did not address some of the key issues that led to these protests. What do you say?
Yes, the position, and I'm not a spokesperson for the government should be in a position to speak on this. Why did the president not make some specific pronouncement? But I've listened to some of the officials saying, look, an official statement on certain of those policies that the people are condemning or saying something about is something that cannot be just decided like that by the president. There has to be consultation with the National Economic Council. There has to be some discussion with stakeholders. Like the issue of, subsidy removal, where the protesters are demanding that it should be reverted to 100 naira. 100 naira. They're saying revert 12, which we don't, we are not refining. We're not refining. These things are imported. They say revert it to 100 naira. under the present circumstance, I don't know how possible it is. And even if the president wants to repart that to 100 naira, there has to be a serious discussion with stakeholders, and even with the budget and planning minister, with the finance minister, and then with the economic council and other stakeholders that are involved in the management of the economy. So that by the time you are taking that decision, you must have looked at the wheres and wherefores, and then come up with a very specific plan to really make it possible for such a demand to be made. That is my thinking, and that's why the president was saying, please, I beg of you, I am aware that you guys meant well. He said that the young ones who are protesting have a good reason to protest, because they want a country that is running. They want a country that is functional. They want a country that they should be proud of. They want a country that they can live, work, rather than going abroad, running abroad and becoming second-class citizens. They want their own country to be better, because they see other nations running very well. Why is it our own is not running well? And when we have all the resources that God has actually, endowed the country with, so they have a right to protest. They need a good life. They need 24 hours light. They need good roads. They need a transport system that is functional, medical facility that is functional, top class. They need education. So these things are not here. Why is it happening that way? Meanwhile, we hear about billions and billions and trillions of naira every year in budget. So they have a right to protest. And they're saying we need this to be done. But in doing that, we need to sit down and say, look, I have taken this economic decision that is painful at this point. I have a reason for doing it, because at the end, these are the things that will be the gain. But for now, there's going to be some pain. But in the meantime, I am putting these measures that you call mitigating factors in place in order to cushion the effect. What are the effects that the government has put in place to cushion the effect of fuel increase? What are the effects you have put down in issue of this electricity tariff? What are the effects you are putting in terms of some other things that people are complaining about? So the government must be able to address the people and say, these are the things I have put in place, because I know there are pain that you guys have been inflicted upon recently based upon my government policies, but this is what I'm putting in place. So that discussion has to take place with leadership.
So, Mr. Bani,
yes.
you could argue, looking at the statement from the president, the speech from the president, that he did, if we're being honest, list some of those things. He listed, what the government has done in terms of giving manufacturers, incentives, the student loans. He listed quite a number of those things. However, this is where personally I think the problem is. And I did put out, a number of tweets, yesterday after listening to the president's speech. There's a perception, it could be real, it's most likely real, that while the president has taken, in his words, difficult but necessary decisions for the future of the country, and the fact that we don't want to go totally bankrupt, the perception is that government on its own is still living large, quote unquote, and not living like a country that is in dire straits. The president, this administration, spent 14 billion naira to fix the vice president's residence. 14. That sum came directly from the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, not 21. 21 was, the total, but they spent 14. They've been spending money on Hajj and whatever to Jerusalem. What do they call that again? Lawmakers are buying multi-million naira bulletproof, and a lawmaker came on national TV to say, what are we going to drive on bad roads? So Nigerians are seeing a lot of these extra spendings or spendings from government. You say you don't have money, but you have 47 ministers. How do you now marry that with telling Nigerians to tighten their belts? Honestly, I think that's where the problem is.
I totally share your sentiments, and I'm totally at home with those views expressed by Nigerians. Because if you are telling me that the economy is bad and all of us have to tighten our belts, that belt cannot be tightened by the poor people alone. The people in government also must tighten their belt. I think it was Ruben Abati that told the story of a particular country they visited while President Jonathan was in power. While in that particular country, they went to see the president of that country with convoy of expensive cars. In another person's country, they came to the State House with convoy, of very expensive SUVs. Meanwhile, the prime minister they were waiting for, who they want to ask for a loan for the country, came to work with a bicycle. And so when they saw the president, and the president saw the convoy of cars they came with, they were very ashamed, and then they couldn't even raise the issue of asking for the loan anymore. Because how do you explain it? We are in another man's country, and while in that country, the kind of cars you came with, were so much, and also very expensive cars. And then if you look here, the president of the country, or the prime minister, you came to ask, loan or money from, he came to work with a bicycle. And so they all shot their mouth. They couldn't even ask for what they came for. So what we're saying is that we must be able to depict what we preach. If you are telling me that the economy of the country is very, very straight, and then we are in a very big problem, then I think also in our spending and whatever we do and our pronouncement, we must also be very sensitive, because the people you are governing are also watching to see what measures you are taking in order to. So I totally agree with that. And I think that the perception is key. The optics, very, very important. People want to see. And Nigerians let me tell you, my lovely sister, Nigerians are the most, in fact, they are the easiest persons to rule on earth. When they see you are doing well, when they see that you are making sacrifices and all that, they will love you the more.
I agree.
They want to support you. Look at my own governor, where I come from, because I was very instrumental in the enthronement of somebody called Alex Oti in Abia State. Now, the other day, somebody was showing Alex Oti going to Abia with a commercial flight. He didn't charter any private jet. I follow him, and it was trending on social media. I said, this is how we ought to have our leaders. When Obi was governor, that was how nobody carries Obi's bag. Even now, you see Obi and all that. I don't see security. Obi was going to Abuja for a meeting all alone. Even though the man is so tight-fisted, people say and all that. But the point is that he was trying because they give shishi. He said, they give shishi. Obi was showing an example that in leadership, it's not about your wealth. It's not about who you are. You can enjoy all that at your own expense because you are a big man. But when you are in government and spending people's money, you must be a bit sensitive. So what we're saying in effect is that this government has done so much too. If you look at what the governor and the president listed.
Yeah.
But what the people also want to see is that those things now must begin to affect. Effect of those things on people is what people are also saying. Yes, you are doing this, sir. But sir, can we also, feel the presence of these things in our lives? Can we also see the government, who are those in government, also making some level of sacrifice? And we're ready to cooperate with you. There are certain things the governor has done, the president has done that is clearly at home with me. This issue of local government Supreme Court judgment, I'm so happy about it. And there are many more that this government is going to do. But they also require time. Remember that just 1 year.
True.
The 1 year is not enough to judge this government, and that is reality.
All right.
The point is that the people felt so bad that when he came, he started with this fuel subsidy removal without planning as to what is the mitigating factor. And prices of things now is hitting the rooftop, and that is why the people are complaining. But I think that what the president is saying, can we have a discussion? Tell me what you want, so I will tell you what I have done, so that we can be able to arrive at a suitable consensus, over this particular matter. And I think that we should call off this strike, protest, and begin to discuss. And with discussion, we'll be able to get to the promised land. That's my belief. We don't need to kill ourselves. We don't need to die. We don't need to destroy anything in order to make a point, So please, let's give peace a chance. Because I've seen wars in other nations in Africa. I don't pray for any war in Nigeria. I don't pray for women to be on the road. I don't pray for young ones to be on the street. We need peace in Nigeria so that we can be able to have a country of our dream. And it's my prayer, my lovely sister, that this country, I will see a country of my dream before I leave the planet Earth.
All right, Mr. Bani, thank you very much. We are totally out of time, yes. But thank you for joining us on the newsroom.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Bless you.
All right, just to actually, there's something he actually said. Subsidy was actually officially removed by President Muhammadu Buhari, not President Tinubu. Unfortunately, Tinubu, did the announcement May 29th when he was sworn in. But if we're being honest, it had been removed 6 months earlier because in the 2023 budget, there was no space for subsidies. But hey, that's a story for another day. Just had to make that correction. We're still talking protests because, of course, the Lagos state government has thanked protesters for their peaceful conduct. And, it's been largely peaceful right here in Lagos. And Governor Sanwo-Olu has been talking about some of the efforts of the Lagos state government to ease the hardship right here in Lagos. Let's take a listen to him.
All that we require now is to be patient for the benefit of the economic recovery policies to blossom and to grow. Protest, in our view, can never achieve in 10 days what carefully crafted economic reforms can achieve in a matter of weeks and months. More than ever before, our nation is blessed with a courageous leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let me therefore assure you that Nigeria is headed in the right direction, and the benefit of these hard reforms will percolate to all very soon. As a state, we are also not unaware of the effects of the economic reforms on our people. To cushion these effects, you will recall we launched the Eco Cares, our own bespoke social protection initiative. Under that program, we introduced the popular Sunday discount markets, where all residents bought basic foodstuff at a 25% discount rate across the 57 locations statewide. Our own Eco came as a form of immediate relief to hundreds of thousands of homes, in which millions of our vulnerable people have benefited. Similarly, under the Eco Cares initiative, we have reduced public transportation costs by a minimum of 25% on all our public transport services. This costs our government almost $2 billion on a monthly basis. We introduced free delivery for expectant mothers in all of our public health facilities. Besides, our health personnel ran a medical outreach under which thousands of our residents were treated for various ailments free of charge. To cater for our tertiary institutional students, we have since increased bursary and scholarship awards to Lagos students to reflect the current economic reality. New entrants into our elementary school do not need to pay a dime. Our workers earn the wage award announced since January by the federal government. In fact, we dare say that the least worker since January this year earned more than the minimum wage. If you can go and check the new minimum wage, go and check, the least worker in Lagos actually earned over 77,000 naira. So the question is, can we do more? The answer is yes. We can do more, and we will. Just this morning, almost 2,000 graduates of our skill acquisition center were all supported with various equipment to start their micro businesses in barbing, in tailoring, in hairdressing, in catering, in craft making. And you were all there. Sewing machines were given out, tiling machines, clippers, power generators, cooking pots, cutters, fish feeds, aluminum cutters.
All right, that was Governor Sanwo-Olu. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
More talk, news, and sports after this.
This is a public service announcement. The moment you didn't know you've been waiting for is here. GT Co is offering shares to the public from Monday 15th July 2024 to August 12th 2024. You have the opportunity to own shares of GT Co PLC when you apply to the GT Co public offering of 9 billion ordinary shares at 44 naira 50 kobo per share. This means that at 44 naira 50 kobo per share, you can now share in our vision and own shares of GT Co PLC. To apply, simply go to the GT Co website at www.gtcoplc.com or visit any GT Bank branch nationwide or any receiving agent listed in the offer prospectus. Offer is open from 15th July to August 12th, so don't delay. Apply now to own shares of GT Co. GT Co. Proudly African, truly international.
Tell me which guys think Viva no fi wash away, 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 away. Gelato, tomato paste, or coffee stain your body. Viva go wash away, 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 away.
our feet shuffled to the beats of old school music. To the days where our feet did the zap. We have been there. We know the grooves of the times. We speak the language of every generation.
And like life, like the world of insurance, as a key player in general insurance since 1918, our vision and values are timeless. And today, as we officially transit to Rex Insurance, we emphasize our promise that whoever you are and whatever your business, we have been there and will always be there, no matter what life brings your way. Rex Insurance, you're not alone.
Hey there. Sharing is caring, and sharing your phone's hotspot is a great way to help a friend in need. But wait, are you keeping your data safe? Here are smart tips to control your data while sharing hotspots. Lock down your hotspot with a strong password to ensure there are no data party crashes. Also, remember to change your password frequently to avoid unauthorized use of your data. So, go on, share your connection with loved ones securely and still have plenty of data left. Visit your mobile operator's website or consumer.ncc.gov.ng to learn more. This message is brought to you by the Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators and the Nigerian Communications Commission.
I'm in love, Sonia tomato mix, stand up. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to scoop? And is it to stop? Dishes come alive, there's so much taste. Sonia tomato mix, of course. Sonia tomato mix, yes sir. Sonia tomato mix, stand up pouch.
Sonia tomato mix in a new stand-up pouch.
So much in love.
Hold up. Everyone wanted in on all the exclusive footage and gist on BB Niger. We got you. The buzz is back. Back to following all the gossip, breakups, breakdowns. Back to giving us spicy banter, bigger secrets, and inside scoops from the BB Niger house. Follow me. Follow me on BB Niger, The Buzz, streaming every Thursday on Showmax. Subscribe only from 1,600 Naira. Sign up now at showmax.com. No lose guard.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info. Stay updated with all the current news.
Well, it's 99.3 Nigeria Info. Just before we went on that break, we had the governor of Lagos State, talking about what his government right here has done as regards mitigating some of the hardship that, of course, Lagosians themselves have also experienced. The governor also called on Lagosians, to abstain from any act that will cause violence, because, of course, nobody wants to get to the point where we had the kind of violence that we had 4 years ago. Take a listen to the governor.
Let me again assure you that we are committed to improving the living standard of our people. That is a solemn pledge that we made to you while seeking your mandate, and we intend to keep this pledge till our very last day in office. Peaceful protests are fundamental rights protected by the Constitution in a democracy as ours. But vying to sack an elected government in 10 days by means of protest is alien to our Constitution. To organizers of the protest, I repeat, while your intentions may be noble, do not substitute your intentions with the motives of other forces. Your gathering is all they perhaps require to perpetrate their own acts. After all, there cannot be a fifth columnist if there were no columns. If your protest gathering becomes a column, then there could indeed be a fifth columnist. I therefore want to appeal to all of you that we should reflect on our past experiences, especially 4 years ago, during the EndSARS protests. What then began as a peaceful demonstration, fortunately over days was hijacked by elements with devilish intentions. They unleashed an unprecedented war on our state. We saw the destruction of valuable properties, the disruption of businesses, and sadly the loss of life in several parts of our state. These events, we all remember, left deep scars on our state, and it hurts our psyche. We are yet to fully recover from the mindless destruction of some symbols of our rich and veritable, enviable heritage. Lagos High Court in Oboshiri, which then was the most recognizable, the oldest court building in our country, and over 15 additional courts. Over 45 police stations were set ablaze, over 12 local government offices, 7 fire stations, the only forensic lab in West Africa, the iconic City Hall, the Nigerian Port Authority, just to mention but a few. They were all destroyed. So were several bank facilities, malls, shops, offices, hundreds and hundreds of BRT buses, and several other public assets. No true Lagosian or any friend of Lagos will encourage us to go this route again. This is not who we are. This is not our way, and they are not in any form our style. Fellow Lagosians, we must remember that our shared goal is a peaceful and a prosperous Lagos.
The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu there speaking, a couple of days ago, and that's where we're going to wrap up the show today. Thank you to everyone who has tuned into this broadcast. Apologies to all of you fans of Courtside. Yes, we've eaten a little bit into your time, but Chuman Noli is standing right here, and of course, it's thanks to him that we're able to wrap up this part of the newsroom today. My name is Ufuoma Egbamuno on behalf of Nena and Emmanuel, my producers. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. Courtside with Chuman Noli and the guys is up next.
The stories that matter to you from across the street to across the globe.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.